If you don't have a game plan going into a game of Super Auto Pets, you're going to lose. I'm going to show you a general game plan you can follow when you're playing Turtle Pack and Super Auto Pets to help you win more games. Before we start, you need to make sure you know what the most important thing in Turtle Pack is, and that is scaling. Guys, don't make fun of the turtle, he's really sensitive. Alright, let's look. So small pets lose you games, but having big pets wins you games. So basically we just need to focus on making big pets. Alright, let's take a look at turns 1 and 2. So you'll see I made a little pyramid here. At the bottom of the pyramid, we have 3 crickets. This is to show triples. The most important thing to do on turn 1 and 2 is to try to find triples of a pet. The next thing I have is a duck and a beaver here. This isn't just to show the duck and the beaver, but to show sell pets. The duck, the beaver, the pigeon, the pig, all of those are amazing pets. Those would ideally be what we find the triples of, but if we're finding triples of other things, we take the other things. Beavers and ducks, pigeons and pigs are just extra bonuses. Third thing is a frozen apple. If we see an apple on turns 1 or 2, we always want to freeze it. We never want to buy honey. Honey's a terrible perk for terrible people. Apples are great. We want to take apples. Freeze them at least. We don't actually want to buy them yet. Okay, let's look at an example turn 1 and turn 2 that I've played. Okay, so in this shop, we have a beaver, we have a cricket, we have an otter. Beaver, obviously we're taking. You saw in the last cut, sell pets. Really good. The cricket is also just a pretty good pet, so we'll just buy it. It's good to have 2 pets, because that way you can find triples easier. And then we'll also freeze this apple. We don't have anything left to buy in this set of pets, so we're going to go ahead and roll. We hit 2 fish, we're just going to go ahead and take them, because again, our main goal is to find triples, and this helps us with that. Okay, now looking at tier 2, in this one, we have 2 ducks and a pigeon already. Start of the turn, we rolled into a duck, we already had a pigeon frozen, so we're just going to take both of these pets. We already have an apple frozen, so we don't have to worry about the food. Okay, we roll into a pig and a duck here. We're going to go ahead and take the pig. Pigs are really good on turns 1 and 2, because you can just sell them on like turn 3, and you get extra gold. It's like just saving some gold for future turns, which is always really good. Okay, so what about turns 3 and 4? We have a lot of pets here. Let's break them down one by one. Okay, first, we have the bottom section. We have a camel, we have an ox, we have a spider, and we have a peacock. These aren't all of the pets in this category, but there are a couple. And what I'm trying to show here is buff targets. On turns 3 or 4, we really want to find a pet that we can put our stats onto. We already know that the most important thing is scaling our units, but a huge part of that is having good units to scale. So if we can find a unit that's good to have stats on, then we just get extra benefit from those stats. The next section we have the scalers. Rabbit and giraffe are the absolute best tier ups you can hit here. Neither of these are even tier 2 pets, but if you hit a tier up with either of these pets in it, you are always, and I mean always, taking either the rabbit or the giraffe. I don't care if you find the best buff target in the game, you're always taking either the rabbit or the giraffe. And then apples. If we have a good buff target on turns 3 or 4, I just want to buy every apple I see onto it. We're just trying to make big units, and apples help us make big units. The last thing we have on here is the flamingo. So why is the flamingo good? Well, let me show you. Pilling it. We can pill the flamingo, and it becomes like 2 apples for the price of like 1 1/3 apples. The flamingo also just provides pretty good tempo, which is always helpful. Let's look at some example turns to see how we should play these. Alright, so looking at this turn, we already have a tier up on our ducks. So we're just looking for good units to get those stats onto from selling the ducks. We have a crab, which is probably good enough. So we go ahead and we rip the triple. We go ahead and sell it, get it on the crab and the camel. So now we've already kind of found our buff targets. So now our goal is mostly just to try and scale as much as we can. So we'll get the crab, and then we can buy this apple, which again helps us with scaling. We'll buy the breadcrumb, and then we just buy the rat. Usually rat's not that great, but in this case, it has big stats on it, and it works well with our camel, so we don't mind just buying it here to help us win a round or 2. We definitely don't want to put more stats on it, though. Okay, so we have a turn 4 here. In this game, we've already kind of decided that our crab's going to be the thing that we buff, and we already have a rabbit to scale it. So at this point, we're kind of just looking for apples, we're looking for flamingos, we're looking for more crabs to stack, that kind of thing. We sell the beavers because it's quite a bit of stats and we need room on our board. We buy a flamingo though, and then we'll go ahead and buy the apple. Again, it helps us scale, and that's kind of our whole goal here. And then we'll freeze the last crab there. Even though I only put it in tier 1, it's always important to still be looking for your triples. Getting triples on odd turns is just always good because you're getting pets 2 turns earlier than you should be, which is just always strong. Turns 1 and 2 is just where it's most important, and then it gets a little bit less important as the game goes on, but it's still very strong. What about turns 5 and 6? We have rabbit and giraffe. You might recognize those from the 2 turns ago. We're still buying every rabbit and every giraffe we see. Rabbits are really good right now because we can just put cake on our units and we just get free scaling. And giraffe, well, you don't even have to put cakes on your unit. It's just free scaling. Turns 5 and 6, I'm pretty much taking every giraffe I see and then most rabbits I see if I have cakes. And then also salads. If we have like a somewhat small board where there's not too many bad things to hit, I'm taking every salad I see. Salads are just double apples. And I was taking apples 1 turn ago. And salads are 2 apples for the price of 1. So it's just way better. But turns 5 and 6, I'm no longer taking apples, even if I have rabbits. Let's look at an example turn 5 and turn 6 to see how we play. Okay, looking at a turn 5 here, we already have a peacock level ready, so we're immediately just going to take that. Generally, you want to take your tier ups like before you do anything else. That way you can see what options you have. We buy the turtle because turtle's very strong. Gives you a tier 6 perk on, turn 5. And then we take a giraffe. We've already talked about it. Scaling, very important, so we're just taking any scaling options we find. We go ahead and we just pill the turtle. We don't have anything we're replacing it with yet, but it saves us gold for later if we just pill it now. We end up finding a salad. We have like 2 things that we really want it to hit, and then one of the giraffes would be like pretty good for it to hit, and the other one we don't really like. So we have like 3 good targets, so I'd say this is a pretty good salad. Looking at a turn 6 here, we already have some good buff targets, and we're just trying to get as many stats onto them as we can. We take a cake, and then we roll into 2 rabbits, so we're just buying these rabbits. We also have enough gold to just buy a salad, so we'll go ahead and buy it now. We buy it when there's only 1 rabbit on board, because then it has less bad hits, because we don't really want it to hit the rabbits. So again, we're just scaling our units as much as possible, because scaling wins games. At turn 7 and 8, it's a little bit harder to show what pets you should be looking for, because a lot of them can be good, and it kind of more depends on your situation. But there's like 3 main things that you should always be planning on going for. This is the first one of those. The pair. If I see a pair on turn 7 or 8, I'm buying it. Every time. The other 2 really important things on turns 7 and 8 is the turtle and the skunk. Turtle gets you a tier 6 perk on tier 4. And that's just really strong. You can use it to protect your big units, because you should have big units at this point. And then the skunk should be able to counter their scaling, because at this point in the game, they should definitely have scaling. I would say that most of the tier ups that you can get here, you should at least consider taking, but there's 3 that are noticeably stronger than the rest. The cow, the shark, and the monkey. Cow and monkey kind of fall into the same category of they both just make your pets bigger. Cow's a little bit faster immediately, and you can immediately sell it, so it basically only costs 2 gold. Monkey takes a little bit longer, but can give you more overall stat. The shark just ends up being a really big unit. On your board, if you put the shark in the back, you're always going to have at least 4 units that faint, so your shark's going to gain at least 8 stats, which just ends up making it really big, and it can trade with a lot of units in the back. Shark's a very strong unit. Okay, so what about turns 9 onwards? Well, let's take a look at it. So it gets a little bit different from that point on. It starts to depend a lot more on how many lives you have left, how many lives your opponent has left, and if you're ahead of your opponent. If your pets are all bigger than your opponent's and you have lives, then you can just keep scaling. You can just keep getting farther ahead of your opponent, and you'll just end up winning the game usually off of that. If you're low on lives, you need things that are going to make a difference pretty immediately. So if you're on like 1, 2 lives, you're probably not buying a monkey anymore. But if you have a lot of lives, you're definitely buying a monkey. So it gets a lot more conditional, and it's a lot harder to have just a general plan. The plan matters a lot more based on what you have and what your opponent has. That being said, the general things that I'd say are pretty good. If you have high lives, monkey's a really good scaler. Cow is just always pretty good. You can just cycle a cow, you can buy it and then sell it, and you just get quite a bit of stats out of it. Shark can be a pretty good one that you can buy on turn 9, depending on your board, but if you have some summons, Shark can be pretty good. Scorpion can be good. If your opponent has a big pet, you can sometimes get the Scorpion to trade into it, which can end up winning you a turn or 2. And then looking at the tier 6s, one really important thing is Tiger and Snake. Tiger Snake is an amazing combo. You already should have a big pet at this point. So if you get Snake, you can just put the Snake behind your big pet, and it'll be able to do extra damage every time your big pet hits. It also helps that it can pop melons early, and just helps you trade better in general. Tiger just further supports that. You can put the Tiger behind the Snake, and then you're just getting even more value out of it. Another important pet is the Mammoth. Mammoth gives you a lot of stats just pretty immediately into your board. It kind of makes positioning a little weird because you usually want it in the front, but it's a very strong pet. Another important thing you want to focus on once you get to turn 11 is equipment. You unlock the ability to have 3 very important equipments at this point. Stake is really good at getting your smaller pets to trade with their higher statted pets. Melon can get you multiple hits, which can be really good with like snakes, because you get more triggers out of things, or something like Boar, where it triggering multiple times really matters. Mushroom can be really good, because if they're sniping your units, it can be really good to have it just come back. It kind of works the same as Melon, but can sometimes give better protection. But again, it's kind of harder to have just a general plan on these turns. Late game, you kind of just got to play more and figure out what you need to do based on the situation. You might have noticed the end of this video got a little bit lower quality. It's kind of hard to give like a general game plan for the late game. It kind of more depends on what your opponent's doing. You kind of just have to play it by kind of what they're doing. But I'll try and make future videos that kind of show a little bit more on like late game stuff, what you should be doing, how to react to what your opponents are doing. But for now, this is all we got for this one. So thanks for watching.